Hey everyone, today's video I'm going to take these Jeep JL halogen headlight housings and install these Bi-LED projectors. To do this install, I purchased a kit from HIDprojectors.com. They have many options to work with and to choose from. The kit I went with was the entry-level kit, does not include any halo rings or demon eyes. The kit goes for $250 plus taxes. When purchasing the kit, you get to choose from different shroud options. I went with the mini Gatling gun one here. The only other thing you have to do is let him know the year, make, and model of your vehicle, and they send you the wiring harness to make it so that the projectors will run with your vehicle. The wiring harness is great because it actually makes it almost like a plug and play option. The only thing you have to do is install the projector into your housing, and then after that, it's a simple plug and play option. So let's dive into the install on this. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to cut this headlight housing open. Then we're going to have to install the projectors. I'm also going to paint the housing because I want a blacked out look, so that stage will be in there. Once we install the projectors, we're then just going to seal up the headlight again. So let's dive into cutting these apart. Okay, so the first step we have to do is remove the bulb from the inside of the housing. To do that, we just open up the cap by turning this big large cap on the back. Once we have that removed, just set it aside. Then we're going to pull up on the locking pin to release it. Once that's released, we're going to press down and pull back to release the plug. Once the plug's aside, just set it aside. We then twist the bulb to unlock the bulb and then remove the bulb. The next step is going to be to cut open or to open up the housing. Some other headlights, you can actually bake the headlight and then pry open the lens and the entire front lens will come off. On these headlights, the sealing that they use prevents that from being possible. So that means we have to cut open the housing. What we're going to do, there's a couple ways to do that. You can either use a Dremel. You can also use I've seen people use a Dremel. The approach we're going to use today is a soldering iron with a cutting tip. And we're actually going to cut around this bottom lip going all the way around the headlight. There's 3 brackets on the headlight. So on 2 of the brackets, we're actually going to go down and around. And we're going to keep going all the way around. And then one of the brackets, we're actually going to go above the housing, above the bracket, and cut along that ridge. And so basically, once we go all the way around and it melted all the way through, the lens should just simply pop off. So let's dive into that. So once your bit is warm enough, you're going to simply start by slowly making lines or passes. You're not going to push right through. It's cleaner just to make multiple passes before pushing through. What we're actually going to do is go all the way around the surface at first, and then come back to make the punctures through. Once we've made the whole pass, we're then just going to make swift passes in the same location and work our way through the casing. Once you have made it all the way around, you should simply just pop apart like that. The next thing we're going to do is we need to clean up all, I'm calling it the melted flashing. We need to clean up the edge and around this side. So what we're going to use to do that is an X-Acto knife, and we're going to cut along the edges, both the inside and outside, to clean it up. And then actually what I did was I just, because when you cut, sometimes you get lighter plastics. What I did was use the soldering again, just to clean up the edge to make sure it was nice and clean. So we're going to do that on the bottom side and the front side. So just get at it. So once that's a lot cleaner, we're then taking the soldering iron and just going to clean all the edges that might have turned a different color. Once that's completed, next step we have to do is remove this piece here. There's a couple ways you could do this. There is a screw on the inside. I guess you could drill out and then get to that screw to unscrew it. What I did was, instead of having to open up or screw or affect the case besides what I've already done, what I'm just going to do here is there is enough room in here for movement. So you're just going to move it back and forth, forward side, and you're just going to keep doing that until it eventually the metal will just give out. So, so you can see, I'm just going to start doing that. Try not to pull too much on the casing, but just on the metal piece itself. So if you keep moving it, pulling it up. So, and eventually, you can see it's barely even on. And eventually, you should be able to even twist it. And it just comes right off. So, the only other thing we're going to need to do is in there, we're going to have to pry that bracket just away from the opening so that we can get one of the plugs through. So once we have the housing cut apart and cleaned up, we're then ready for paint. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the housing, we're going to tape off this edge just here. This is more of a precaution. Just want to make sure that the two edges meet together without paint being in between. So I've just taped this edge off. I've cleaned the chrome part here with water and alcohol solution, just to get any grease or anything off of it. So at this point, we're ready for paint. The other part we're going to be painting is the shroud part. So we're going to paint that black as well. The paint I'm using today is the Fusion, the Krylon Fusion all-in-one primer and paint, satin black, no peel guaranteed. So we're going to do this. It's basically, we're going to do five coats, very light coats, and we're just going to kind of just take our time doing it and see how it goes. At this point, we're just going to let it sit overnight to fully dry before assembling it. So after you've let it dry overnight, the next part is to assemble the projector into the housing. So first we're going to attach the shroud to the projector itself. We're going to use number 6 screws that were not provided with the kit, so I had to go purchase these. But basically the shroud just lines up to the projector. There's really only one way it can work, so you're just going to line that up. And then you're going to put the screws in. Once that's done, the next thing we're going to do is remove the nut on the back. And we're going to grab the hardware kit, and we're only going to need a few pieces for this one. First, we're going to grab the washer-like piece and this large washer. There's a bunch of other pieces, but none of them really work with the housing. So we're just going to need those 2 pieces. First, we're going to put on this washer. I'm going to put it on. The way I put it on was the opening way, or the cup way. See the cup way in around first. So slide that on, push that all the way down. So that's going to sit like that. The next part is simply just to put it into the housing. The fan part of it faces down towards the bottom of the bottom of the housing. So that's the bottom part. So I'm just going to check to see which side is down. I know that this part here is the bottom here. So this is the bottom of the headlight is down here. So this is the way the headlight's in the bottom here. So you know that now. So we're gonna put the fan face it down towards this end. So pretty simple to do. All you do is simply guide the projector into the housing. We're gonna put the nozzle here with the threads on it, goes through the big hole, and then this smaller cord here that's on the bottom actually is going to go straight through this hole right here that had the piece in it. So we're going to put it through there. So we're just going to make that snug in there. The next part is a bit tricky. You got to hold the projector in place while turning it over. Once you have it turned over, you're going to take that. This red washer is usually it's glued on the back here, but it came off, so I'm going to put it back on. So simply just fish the wires through, place it back in the location that needs to be, which is you can see right there. So the next part is we're going to take the metal washer here, and it has a set piece on it here. So we're going to set that onto the washer there, onto the bolt part of the projector part. So again, fish this on, and we're going to set this in place. So that's what it will look like. And then the final part is the nut. So we take the nut, slide it on, and just tighten it up. Doesn't have to be super tight at this point. So we're just trying to get it to start threading in place so that we can So once we've got that in place, we should be able to now make sure that the lens is perfectly centered. You can see on the side here, you can see the fan piece. So you really just want to make sure that that's horizontal. We will be able to adjust this in the vehicle because you'll be able to turn this once it's on. So we'll make those adjustments once we install it. But for now, we're just gonna try and do our best to make it sit. Once we've got that tight, we're then going to tighten that further to make sure that it is as snug as possible. So this is also going to pull the lens in through that into the hole with that washer. So once we've got that, the next part is to put in the wiring parts. So what we're going to do here is we're going to install the wiring parts, and we're going to put them inside the housing with everything. That way it's just nice and easy inside. So very simple to do so far. So we want to just untangle the cords a bit so we have them a little bit controlled. So the first plug is going to go onto the two wires coming out of the projector in the center. These are just simple two connectors. Just slide them back on, making sure to put the right side up, on. So the next part is the wiring harness for the vehicle. So we're going to connect that onto this part. So this does look to be, it looks like it can go both ways. So this can be, what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the first time and hope that it's the right way. If not, we'll probably have to switch that over to the other side later. We have that. Next part is to plug in this part. That's that extra wire that's coming out the bottom of there. So we're going to plug that in to itself. So once all that's connected, the last wire is to the main housing. So we just connect this in. So that should have, now the wiring harness is connected. So what we can do at this point is fish everything inside the unit to make it a nice clean OEM look. So we're just going to fish everything in here. So you can see all the wiring's inside now. Took a little bit of time there, but eventually you do get it in. So the next part is to close up the front of the headlight. So what we're gonna do is just make sure that the lens and everything is clean. So I'm just gonna go do that, clean it up and make sure everything's ready to go. And we'll come back and we'll assemble the piece together. So now that we've got it assembled and all cleaned up and ready to go, we're going to we're gonna assemble the top housing back together. So we're gonna glue that back together. So we're gonna set this back in place. Everything should line up because vehicle one is the right one. So we're just gonna line that all back up. So once it's in place, we're gonna let it sit there and once we have it sitting in place, we're going to use, I'm using plastic Bondo. It's our bonder, a JB Weld. I'm going to use that. I know in this situation, usually you should use like a silicone, but I do not have that right now. The silicone I had went bad, so we're going to use this instead. So basically, we're just going to go around the entire side, making sure to get all the to get it fully closed up. Once we've gone all the way around, at this point we're just gonna let this sit overnight again and harden up before we install it into the Jeep. So I've got the headlights back together. Can't be happier with the outcome. Definitely can't wait to see how they perform on the Jeep. But because the plastic bonder is still drying, we're gonna let these sit a little bit longer before we do that install. So we're gonna end this video here today at this point, and the next video we'll actually install these and then do a comparison video of these to the Mopar LED headlights so we can see how they really do compare and if the performance is worth it. So for now, just please like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next video.